sensitive to these sounds. Plant down and lotus in a tempted ground. Knowing if I fail to lift the veil, I'm hellbound. Journey through the fate of all the hate I found. Done laying out the laments for these lames, big clowns. We can still throw down pound for pound if you choose to drag my name through the mud with no bounds. Scars go deep, but the passion can shift. Trying to find a balance between anger and bliss. Searching for my purpose when success is a myth. I thought I knew the gist of the plot, but it came with a twist. Had it all mapped out, but none of the pieces fit. Abandonment issues got me doing the split. Realizing I didn't really need what I wish. Got sick of getting tricked into giving the devil a kiss. Welcome to the side of hell. They got me under respect. A story to tell as soon as I break out of this shell. Welcome to the side of hell.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Portal to the Paranormal Thriller Podcast. I hope everyone is doing well. Tonight we have a great show ahead. It's going to be a no-filter show. The guest that I have on, he's an absolute great guy. I've got to know him over the last year. And if you want to know anything about the paranormal, get some straight answers without any filters, Matt Barron is who we've got on tonight. And he is a guy that will give his honest opinion without any filters. But Matt, over the years, he's done such a lot in the paranormal field, from running teams in America. He has also done multiple locations, also private locations, private investigation for clients. He's also got his own podcast that sort of helps the paranormal field. So we'll go into that. But what I'm going to do is bring him on. So we've got Matt Barron joining us this evening.
What's up, brother?
As I just said, I've made it very clear for people that are watching. This is going to be a no-filter show. We know, me and you have done quite a few shows over the last year, especially with helping with the Global Ghost Hunt. And we know when Matt has an idea or when Matt's got something to say, there is nothing to stop him. He's going to go for it regardless. So,
pretty much.
So, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to join us.
Thanks for having me, brother. Seriously.
Again, I'm looking forward to this because I know what you're like, and I'm excited for people that follow our page to get to know you a bit more as well. So it's good because this time the questions are going to be fired at you instead of you doing all the questioning. So
buckle
how
up.
you feeling about that?
Buckle up.
I
will say before we get going, I remember doing that video for you, the intro.
Yeah.
And just that music, I'm just backstage, just like, yeah. I was like, I remember this. I love that track.
Every time that I play that, I'm just bopping my head because it's just such a funky tune.
There's a couple videos I do that, they're like, okay, that fits, it works, it's good. Like the ones where we did for Global Ghost Hunt and a couple others. But there's some, like the intro that you did, that's just like, oh yeah, here we go. It's like, let's have some fun with it. Like, it just amps you up. I love it. And
we're definitely going to get into that because, I know sometimes there's a lot of content creators that watch, where we're streaming through like Parapost, we're on, Paralinks as well. So if there's people watching, we will get into the Para-Vid Studios and how you can help there. But before I do, just a few comments quickly. So we've got our lovely PTTP leader, Dan, in the house.
What's up, Dan?
Hope you're doing well. And then, the lovely Sarah, our good friend Matt, my two favorite boys.
Wait a minute, friend. I thought we were family. What?
Oh, you're going to upset him already. But, as always, guys, anyone that's watching it, if you do have any questions that you want to fire at Matt about the paranormal, 17 years in the field, so I'm sure Matt's got a few stories to tell. So definitely fire it over. We've got Nikki. She's another member of our PTTP team. So, hey, darling, hope you're well. And then we've got Dan. How you doing?
What's up, Dan?
So, so I said I will get to the comments. So if you've got anything you want to say or just say hello, just say hello. We like people getting involved with the shows. So brilliant. But first off, you know, the most obvious question for people that haven't met you on our page before, you know, you've been in the field for 17 years. What kicked it off for you? What got you involved in the field?
Well, obviously, I've said before, you know, I've had a personal experience when I was younger. I'll give you the short version. I was driving my vehicle, saw a female standing in the road, slammed on my brakes, literally watched her pass right through the car. I finally came to a stop, got out, and I said, "Ma'am, are you?" And I stopped for a second, and I realized what just happened. And she turned, smiled, and faded away. And I was just like,
wow.
Nope, not doing that. And off I went. But then I started watching the shows when I was in the military. Ghost Hunters was the main one. Then I started watching like Paranormal State, with it being from Pennsylvania. You know, I back, you know, my Pennsylvanians up, and it just kind of built a little bit of an interest, and it was kind of like entertainment at that point. But the one night I was at this bar that I was actually working at. I was working security, and I got a couple of female friends. I was off that night. We were all drinking, having a good time, and they wanted to go to this haunted location. It's a park that used to be a cemetery, and the bodies are still there. I saw that. Watch it, Dan. Watch it. But I love Dan. But the bodies are still there in this park. There's over 300 of them.
Wow.
And they just basically bulldozed all the headstones minus a couple of the famous people from San Diego. And I was drunk, stupid, going to a dark area with a bunch of females. You know, hormones were like, let's go. So we went, and I had my first experience there. It was actually a black mass, about 8-9 feet tall, just walk right in front of me. And I'm just like, shit, it's real. I was like, this isn't, and I kind of, from that point, that's what really sparked it for me. And I started turning from the entertainment side of watching these shows to the educational side. I still have to this day, the first 4 seasons of Ghost Hunters that I study. How they ask their questions for their EVPs, where do they set up the cameras, the interview process with the clients, how do they do their reviews, you know, stuff like that. I just started, you know, becoming a student, and I started reading material about, you know, the paranormal. And then I saw this ad on Craigslist, for those who remember Craigslist. I actually found this one team that was looking for investigators. So I interviewed with them, and they were all about money. And I mean, they wanted me to put $500 down that day. And I said, I'm unemployed. And they said, well, you just got to find it. And I'm like, this can't be what it's about. So me being me, I said, screw it. I'm going to start my own team. So I did. And I met another guy. His name was Dan Smith, out in San Diego. And he actually runs Haunted San Diego. Oh, he did. I don't know if he still does. We've lost contact, but he helped me start. Yeah. He gave me iron-on shirt stuff, business cards. He became kind of like a manager, and I just started a team, and the rest has been history, as they say.
And, you know, being in the field for 17 years, you know, I'm sure you've seen things that you've liked, you've seen things that you don't like. You know, we know the paranormal field can be quite shall we say, a dramatic place to be in. You know,
say that.
You know, putting it nicely, shall we say? But why do you think? You know, what's made the field like that? Why is there drama? Why is it? You know, what is your opinion? Why it's gone in that sort of direction?
First and foremost is ego. That's number one. Everybody wants to be the next Ghost Hunters. Everybody wants to be the next Ghost Adventures for some reason. You know, everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame. And they lose focus of what this field is really about. And then it becomes, you take the ego, then it becomes territorial. It becomes, oh, well, that's my location. No, it's not. Unless you own it, it is not your location. A public location is exactly that, a public location. And, you know, they act like it's a bunch of like gang wars almost. And honestly, again, it comes down to ego, and that's the main thing. That's the main reason why the field's turned the way it was.
Because I know with speaking to you, you have had opportunities where you could have gone like TV route down the paranormal, and quite surprised. A lot of people, let's be honest, would say TV, yeah, let's do it. But you actually took another approach, and you went away from that. You decided not to go forward. Do you still stand by that decision, or do you regret it a little bit? What was your reason to turn away an opportunity like that?
So to answer that, I have to take a step back. So when the first Conjuring movie came out, and we're talking the one with the Dybbuk box and everything, a little girl has moth flying out of her mouth, all like that movie.
Yeah.
At that point, in San Diego, we were starting to really make a name for ourselves. We, everybody in the community knew us. I mean, we were starting to really make a name for ourselves. And I was actually approached by Lionsgate, and they asked to help promote the movie in San Diego. And in return, they were going to take us to the premiere. So, I mean, they gave us a bunch of merchandise, a bunch of promotional stuff, and it was great. And I at first I thought it was BS, but then I got the email and I met with the person, and it was legit. And I was like, no kidding. Okay. So we did that. And then a producer got a hold of me to do an investigation at this one TV set. It was for this the automotive customization shows, one of those, kind of like a Pimp My Ride type deal, but it was it wasn't as extreme. And I guess they were having a lot of issues. So they said they wanted to do a Halloween special on this. And they said, can you come in and investigate? And I was like, well, yeah, of course, we'd love to help. They asked how much we charged and everything. I said, we don't charge. We come up for free. The producers obviously love that. And we did the show. Everything was great. It was a lot of fun. Never had a 4-foot woman reach up my shirt without my permission to hook up a microphone. That was weird. But the show went great. Everything was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. And then not long after, I got another call from another studio. I won't mention that name. And they said, we want to do a show with you and your team. We heard a lot of great things about you. We saw what you did. We really like it. Can we sit down and negotiate a contract? I said, you know what? Fine. I've been more than happy we'll sit down and talk. I said, I won't negotiate, but I'll talk. I said, we'll talk. We'll come up with something. I'll talk to my team about it. My team's good with it. We'll sign. And then we'll negotiate. Yeah. And they said that was fair. So they offered us a pretty good chunk of money. But the one thing they wanted me to do is fake evidence. They said, if we go to these locations and there's nothing going on, can we fake it? And I said, absolutely not. And they said, well, we need to keep the ratings. I said, listen, two things. Number one, if we're goopy enough as is. I mean, you said it yourself. You never know what comes out of my mouth. Imagine another team, imagine a team of me, all the same way. Big Papa Pun. What's up, Steven? Miss you, brother. But and I saw your comment, Dan. But that one, yeah. But I told him, I said, listen, I said, we'll make it. We'll make sure you get the ratings because we're just goopy by ourselves. I was like, well, I said, the ratings will be fine. I said, but I refuse to fake anything. I said, I've never done it and never will. And they said, well, you would need to. And I said, listen, you came to me for a reason. You get what you get. That's my offer. And,
with the TV industries, do you think, and this is not specific to any particular shows or anything like that, but do you think that they do more damage in the paranormal field than good? Or do you think it's a bit of a balancing act with some are good, some are not? What's your thoughts about overall TV industry for the paranormal?
Well, overall, I think it does hurt because obviously if they're asking me to fake, we know who fakes it. It's blatantly obvious. If you've been in this field more than 5 minutes, you know who's faking evidence. And the problem is is whether it's a movie or a TV show, the general public is seeing this. Yeah. And they think that's how our field is, and that's how it's ran. And luckily, I got to speak with Satori Haas and Cherie Marie when Brian and I did Women Investigate 2. And they said, these TV shows are literally, they're there for a week or two at a time. And they're condensing all their evidence into a 30-minute episode. So yeah, it's going to look active. But if you go to a spot and the spirits don't want to communicate, what are you going to do? And I think people need to understand that there are times where you're just literally sitting in the dark talking to yourself.
That is true. I use the phrase sometimes. It's like when you go fishing, you can cast your rod out, but it's going to take a while before you get a bite. And
I know that firsthand today.
And it's you've got to be. I think that's the thing. What we say to people that join us on investigations as well. Don't expect everything to happen. It's sort of you're playing a game of cards. You might get dealt a good hand. Sometimes you just don't. So it's
100%.
It's like that. And I agree with what you're saying. But with the investigations you've done, before we go into like the public locations that you've gone into, you've done a lot of private investigations.
Yeah.
For you to go into something, so someone's made contact with you saying something's going on in their home or something like that. How would it be something that you would just go there straight away, or did you have to like look into it to make sure? Because sometimes you get some crazy people. Let's be honest, that could be feeding the story. How would you judge if you was to take a case on? What sort of homework would you do?
Well, it depends on the situation. If there are kids involved, I would immediately go there. If there's any children involved at all, or if there's physical stuff happening, people getting scratched, illness, something like that, something that's immediate. Yeah, we'll go over there right away. If it's just, hey, we got some random crap going on, okay, then we'll do, an interview process. We'll do our baseline reading regardless. We'll go during the day and we'll just get baselines. We'll talk to the people, find out what's going on, talk to the kids. I love talking to children. I think I said this to you. They're like little alcoholics. They are so honest and blunt and brutal. It is hilarious. And, I love chatting with them, because they won't filter it. They'll tell you straight out. And I'd say probably 90% of the information you'll get is from their kids. And, do they have an imaginary friend? Or, is mommy or daddy too much? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you'll figure that out. And it's a good base to get it set up on. But no, like Dan just said, sometimes it's the electrical. Like I'm an electrician by trade. So an EMF meter right there, you can sit there and you can debunk a lot. Is it EMF poisoning? Is it something that's going on with their pipes? Do they have loose pipes? And you go during the day to get that nice baseline, get an idea. Either way, I would still investigate it just to be on the safe side. And but no, I don't think I've ever turned down a case.
And that's good. So you've done a number of cases. Now, a lot of people, and this is part of the tip referring back to the TV industry, the entertainment industry. A lot of people refer to things in their house as something demonic because they don't know what they're dealing with. Now, have you ever come across something demonic, or do you think that is something that unfortunately is overused, and like the filming industry plant that seed in people's head to make them think a glass moves, that's demonic, a bang is demonic? What's, in your opinion, do we live in a world with demonic entities, or do you think it's just something that's hyped up by Hollywood and the movie industries?
Well, so just to kind of put it in perspective, I think last count I have over 400 clients in home and private residence and business. I would say there was only 3 times out of all that was ever demonic. Okay. Now, 97% of them said that it was a demonic. And it's like, no. As soon as you walk in, it's like, no, it's not demonic. You're fine. That's usually the first thing I tell them as soon as I walk in. And I'm not as sensitive by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a medium. I'm an extra large. So, The only thing I'm sensitive to is the electromagnetic field. Right? If there's a high EMF field, I will get migraines. But you can literally walk into a place and you would know. You'll know if it's a demonic or not. You just get that feeling. And I've only ran into 3 that I would call demonic, 2 for sure. One, it was hard to say whether it was or not. It could have been borderline, either demonic, or it could have just been a really aggressive poltergeist. It just depends. But those two though, for sure, I had to get the church involved. So
take it, Stephen.
Much love, brother. Keep in touch.
And you're saying about how you've determined what kind of entity it is. A lot of people say that you could tell by a bad smell, or changes in the person that's there. Like, do you think that plays a part as well, the bad smells, or again?
Oh, huge.
Does it depend on the person that is dealing with the case?
Oh, absolutely. It's huge. And, with a true demonic, and I know our brother Brian hates that word, but with a true demonic, there are different keys. There's different symptoms, so to speak. There's different signals and signs to look for. And, it gets thrown around a lot. And I know there's a lot of people who will run into places completely blind by themselves. I would be one of them. But like Michael Wong from PN Paranormal, we're that kind of person to where we're just like, yeah, let's go. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
I don't stray away, but those 2 cases put me on edge. I backed out. I didn't leave them, mind you. I didn't leave my client high and dry, but I wouldn't continue with it. I would never go. I don't ever want to run into one again.
No. Fair enough. Because, it must be very rare, because we've done a number of investigations, and, you sort of look back at the history of things, and, they say that there's something evil, there's something, but I can't personally say that we've run into anything like that, so it's got to be quite challenging when you come across something like that, and, like you said, put you on edge. Well,
I'll put it to you this way. If there is a true demonic in a home, by the time you would get called to it, shit's hit the fan, so to speak. It's gotten really bad, because a demonic is literally an infestation. It's like ants or any type of pest. And I'm not saying, I know there's some people who are, Satanists and stuff like that. I'm not saying anything negative about the demonics themselves, but they do infest homes. They build a nest, and they slowly work down the family, mentally, physically, emotionally. They tear people apart. That's what they do. They oppress. And if it gets to that point, that's like an exterminator. You don't call an exterminator when you see one ant. You call an exterminator when you have thousands of them. You know what I mean? Like, that's worst case scenario. That's what it's like for a demonic.
It's got to be quite horrible to deal with those sort of cases. Then, when you're actually faced with a true case like that, when you've run into it and you've had to deal with it, that you're faced with that. How have you dealt with that yourself? Then, have you had anything like afterwards mentally? How's it affected you? What have you had to do to make sure you've looked after yourself dealing with those sort of cases?
Well, the first and foremost, if you're going into any investigation, any client-based investigation, you need to have the experience and the competence, and you have to understand that anything can happen in this field. You could get called out for a couple of knocks and run into something like that. You know what I mean? It's a possibility is always there. So I think mentally I prepare myself for worst case scenario, and that's just the military in me. And then when it hits, it's kind of like your adrenaline gets going. You got to try to calm yourself down, and you got to go back to your basics, knowing how to protect yourself. I'm not, me personally, I'm a Christian, so I pray a lot. I settle myself down. I meditate. I center myself. And the worst thing you can do if you do run into something like that is react. Is to react that bad. You don't want to sit there and feed into that energy, because you remember, they oppress. They will go after that. they will go after the fear. They will go after that negativity. They hate, that's what they want. So you need to understand that you have to be calm about it. And so, like with the one I did, well, actually both of them, I backed the family out of that location. I said, hey guys, let's take a break. I want to go talk to you real quick. Let's go around the corner. Let's go down the street a little bit. Let's go off this property and we'll talk. And, I tell them exactly how it is. I just like in the shows, I don't pull any punches. I'll tell them exactly, hey, this is what you're dealing with, and here's all my reasonings why. It's not going to be one of those, no, it's not just Aunt Sally sitting in the corner, trying to get your attention. No, you've got something very serious. And,
you were also saying about, bringing religion into it. You're a Christian, and, seeing things, on TV and things like that. Some people turn to religion for help, like priests and exorcism, things like that to try and demolish what's in the home. Do you think that works, or do you think it makes it worse at times? Like, what's your thoughts when it comes to? Do you think religion plays a part when you're dealing with these sort of things, or should religion be left out of it?
No, 100%. It's what you believe, and it's what the client believes. Like, I've gone into some homes where they are Hindu. So that's where, for me, like with my wife, she's Wiccan. That's where that study started for me. I started realizing we're going into these people's homes. They need to be comfortable. I'm not going to go into a Hindu house and do a bunch of Christian prayers. I'm not going to go into someone who believes in Wicca and do a bunch of Christian, because that's going to upset them. They won't be comfortable with that. So you have to broaden that. But as far as the blessings that I've done, and my Christian blessings, you can tell an immediate difference. Like, even all the clients have said, like, I do mine a little differently. But when I do the blessings or the cleansings, they even said they can notice a distinct difference immediately, and we're talking minutes after I'm done. So I think it's, again, up to your belief. It's all bringing back that positive neutral energy. It's just resetting it.
Right. And overall as well, we're talking about a person's mental state. Especially as an investigator. Thinking along a paranormal investigator. Do you think the way you treat your body, the way you, like, say, for example, the kind of foods that you eat, or the drinking, like if you drink liquor or alcohol, or the way you're feeling, does that affect the way you do an investigation? Like, do you think it's important? Is there, like, for you, is there a certain way that you, before going to an investigation, do you have like a routine where I'm not going to eat certain stuff, I'm not going to drink certain stuff, just to keep your mind pure to what you got to do?
Well, I'm a fatty. I like my round shape. Thinking.
Well, as you can tell, we both look like foodies.
Well,
with the wife I've got, so
I didn't get this with a salad. You know what I mean? So, and we were talking earlier about my energy drinks. Typically, I always drink energy drinks, and if you've seen the show, you see these like invisible cans. That's what it is. It's an energy drink. Typically, I drink a bunch of them. And actually, I have some here in the studio too, but I'm not supposed to be drinking them today. But obviously, alcohol, any type of substance that'll change your mentality, no, never. 24 hours before or after an investigation, never. I mean, I don't mind drinking. I still have some, I have a bottle right here, but I don't mind drinking. But you don't do it before or after. You don't want to alter your body. And when you start doing that stuff, then you run into issues when you're investigating. You can't investigate to your fullest. It's just like any piece of equipment. You're not going to just, go in with a camera that's not fully charged. That doesn't make sense. You're not going to go in with dead batteries. You're not going to go in without any equipment at all. No flashlight, no nothing. It doesn't make sense. And your body's the same way. If you alter your body, then you're altering the evidence and you're altering that investigation.
No, I get what you're saying. And, with that being said, for yourself on a personal level, you come from Pennsylvania, you live in Pennsylvania. And I know from talking to you, you know, the paranormal field is still a bit of a taboo subject.
Yeah.
You know? And I find, how can I say this without sounding like I'm being rude? I'm finding like the older generation, you know, seem to have this thing in common where their families, and going back in time, you know, if you was to say, I can see things or I'm doing this, you're looked at as a nutcase, shall we say. Why do you think it's still, like, why do you think people have that frame of mind?
I think it's a mix of things. It's, number one, especially here, religion. You know, the Christian church teaches that there is a heaven or hell. There's no in between. You either go to heaven or you go to hell. I got a story for that one too, but one involves a camera crew. But no, I think religion has a huge thing to play with it. If you're in an area that has really high Christian basis or any type of religious basis, that's usually you're going to heaven or you're going to hell. They don't. There's no in between, because that's what we're told and that's what we're taught. At least that's how it is here. And like with my family, for example, love my family to death, but when I told my parents that I was into the paranormal, they hated it. They thought I was going against my religion. And I said, listen, the paranormal has not only boosted my religious beliefs, I became ordained because of it. And it's brought me closer to my religious. And you know what? And in all honesty, it's opened up my mindset to accept everybody, in which I don't want to get into too much religion, but you know, we're taught by Jesus himself saying that we are to accept everybody. Well, doesn't that mean everybody, not just only people who listen to you? You're supposed to love and respect everybody, no matter their religious backgrounds. I mean, I said earlier, my wife's Wiccan. I support her. Heck, I even practice. You know, and you start to find little puzzle pieces that kind of just fit ever so nicely together. And, you know, it's just kind of how they're locked in. They have blinders on. People just have blinders on. They see black and white. That's all it is. And, you know, it's time to take the blinders off.
No, I like the way you've answered that. That's cool. So we'll go back to Dan's comment. It helps eat stuff that doesn't make your stomach make noise. We've picked up stomach growls on the EVPs. So you got a bit of a story to relate to his comment?
I've got two. So I'll tell the physical one, and then I'll tell the evidence we caught.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier that I did a TV show. We did a TV show. We came in and investigated. That night, we made the mistake of going to a buffet before the investigation. I myself am very competitive. So are some of my other male investigators. And we put away 14 plates apiece.
Oh, wow.
Stuff on there we probably shouldn't have had. So we're sitting there, and I don't know, brother, if you remember those old computer chairs with just the oval back on it. Board. Yeah. Well, in the office space of this shop we were investigating, they had one. Nothing was really going on. We weren't really catching much or whatever. So the team called me and see if I can help bring some more energy, stir something up. I ask a lot of the questions that people are afraid to ask, just because I just don't care. Like, how did you die? What's it like to die? Do you know you're dead? You know, stuff like that. That most people are afraid to ask. I'll just go ahead and say it. Yeah. But anyway, I was sitting backwards on one. So I had the back of the chair like this, and I'm just sitting here and had my stomach folded, and I could feel it. I felt I'm like, oh. So I see the camera guy. He obviously heard it. My investigators didn't. Let's just say politely, I released some fumes. It sounded like a duck. Like I sat on a duck, and it echoed.
Wow.
Camera guy's shaking. He's laughing so hard. My investigators are laughing. Somebody thought they heard a growl from outside. So that turned into a whole thing. So the other story is we were investigating what was it, the cemetery? I think it was Alpine Cemetery. And they were talking, they were doing something, they were doing an EVP session. I never investigated with them. I let them go out and do the investigation. I just was a support as a founder. I just moved around and helped support them. Excuse me. And afterwards, we were going over the evidence, and one of my investigators, Stan, he's just sitting there listening because we were at his house, and he just loses it. He just starts laughing out of nowhere. And I'm like, what? He goes, you need to hear this. So he gives me the headphones. I put the headphones in, and I'm listening, and I hear my other investigator say, can you give me a sign that you're here? I looked at him. I'm like, I don't hear anything. All of a sudden, you hear this thing just rip through. It had echo. It had bass. It was beautiful. I started laughing. He goes, just wait. I was like, okay. I'm sitting there like, man, that was wet. That was bad. And I'm sitting there thinking, and he goes, I said, I don't hear anything. He goes, exactly. I said, what do you mean? He goes, who was there? And I started thinking about who was with them, who was around the recorder. It's everybody who had a childish mind, who's immature, like
you.
We didn't react. Nobody reacted to it. We caught an EVP of a fart. So ghost fart.
Oh, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is funny. That is funny. And you were saying about like the line of questioning when you're calling out to a spirit.
Yeah.
You know, I think we have the very common kind of questions.
Yeah.
Are there any spirits here? Can you tell us your name? Can you do this? Can you do that? Is there anything that you do differently when it comes to your questioning that that you could teach everyone to do something a little bit different?
Be creative. Because I said this at Pennhurst, and I've said it about Pennhurst. And I know, Nando, you were saying you were getting a crack at, Mackenzie and I.
You and Mackenzie, yeah.
But that's how we are. Those are the questions we ask. We relate to the spirits. And one thing I've noticed is just nothing against them, but just like in the podcast, people ask the same questions over and over and over and over. If you go to a location, these spirits are tired of hearing that. They want to, ask them something random, like, what's the weather like for you? Who's the president? Do you know who the president is? What do you have to say about the president? Who's your favorite sports team? Who's your favorite, what's your favorite sport? Just ask them anything. Ask them anything in the world. What's your favorite food? I had a spirit come back on an SB7 saying they wanted to go for beer with us.
I think that's what you did, because you did the Pennhurst for your Global Ghost Hunt event, and your line of questions were a lot different to what a lot of us would do, shall we say, like the questioning. Do you find that they work, like doing something different actually does work, or is it still trial and error with the questions that you do?
It works for us. Obviously, as you know, brother, we all have our own way of investigating. Some people asking the same questions, that's their comfort level. That's what they want. That's fine. For me, I figure if we're going to get responses from these spirits, we got to be ourselves. Got to be ourselves. And if you can't, how do you expect them? How do you expect these spirits to relate to us? It's not just us relating to them. Case in point, we had a CMPS and Rootless Destinations dress up in period attire. They're trying to relate. Mm-hmm. I went to the USS North Carolina with my veteran shirt on, my veteran hoodie with my medal, and I tried to relate with them. And even Mackenzie at Pennhurst. We learned a lot at Pennhurst. Like, I thought it was going to be like all scary, dark entities, stuff like that, like a really badass investigation. That all changed during the walkthrough. We were told that the spirits there are the mentally ill. Like, they're mentally challenged. They're kids. They're adults who just can't comprehend. They have, the mentality of a 5-year-old. So immediately, Mackenzie and I just looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we're not going in like, hey, let's go chat. No, it's come here, let's go have some fun. Let's have some fun with you. Let's see what's going on. Let's actually talk. And that's what you got to do. You got to go in. It's okay to do your baselines. Who's here with us? Can you tell me your name? Introduce yourself. That's perfectly fine. But I know if I was a spirit, if somebody came into, like, if I was at Pennhurst or Waverly Hills or wherever, I don't want people come like a sideshow poking at me saying, who's here? What's your name? I don't want to hear that all the time. And show me you're here. No. I do it just out of spite. No.
Yeah, it's crazy. Nikki's just put a comment in the so we did an investigation, and yeah, we were asking certain questions. So the story about this headmaster at Grounders, he was, if I'm right, Nikki, or if I'm wrong, let me know. He was quite one of those nasty, very strict, but over, like, did things that you shouldn't do.
No.
And yeah, it was like, are you a nasty person? How much of a nasty person he was. And then we had no one round us, but it was like, shh, like a demanded shush. Like, do you know, like a teacher would tell you when you're in the classroom, and you're like, oh, damn, we've stepped on someone's toes here. And it was weird because you sort of felt that, like, like you had that feeling overcome you, like we had done something wrong in a way. But it was, yeah, I remember that. And I think the other one was Nikki got a great EVP. We did an investigation at Oxford Castle and Prison. And I think we're up in one of the towers. And we were doing like a group's, like in a circle, doing call outs. And she caught a great EVP. And that they're the moments that you want to catch, isn't it? When you least expect it and then you get that evidence and you're like, there's no way you can debunk it. Because we do look at ways like, could this be a gush of air coming through, making like, because, sounds change as they travel, don't they? So you've got to be so mindful of everything that you're saying is paranormal, so you've got to be mindful of your surroundings and everything. So you're saying about the line of questioning and things like that. But then the other thing is, like, it was a voice saying, who are you? That was it. So Nikki picked up a clear voice out of nowhere saying, who are you? Because we were asking questions like, who's here? What did you do here? And things like that.
Nice.
So that was a good EVP, Nikki. That was a great one she caught. In your opinion, we go to loads of locations and, we sort of learn how to understand if there's something in a location. Why do you think spirits are still here? Why haven't they moved on? Or is there they can move on to? Why do you think we're surrounded with so many different spirits?
I have actually two theories on that. The one that's becoming pretty popular is, I think they call it the Casper theory, or at least that's what I call it. Okay. Spirits are just people with unfinished business. There's something that's keeping them here. Now, obviously, and I know people are going to get upset, but obviously residuals are completely different. That's more of a timestamp. But the intelligent ones, they've got a message. They've got something that they want to do. See you, Dan. Much love, brother. They have something they want to relay. There's something still holding them there. And again, that's where that line of questioning comes in. I always ask the spirits, is there somebody that you want me to give a message to? Just tell me their name and what your message is, and I will do my best to get it to them. And I do that with the clients too, because a lot of the times clients, they don't understand the paranormal. I've even told them a couple little tips and tricks. Turn on a recorder. Most of our phones have them. They just turn on a recorder, say, look, I don't know what you want. I don't know what you need. Just talk into this. I don't want anything to do. I'm sorry, but please speak into this, and I'll do whatever you need to get done. The other theory I have, or that I've heard, and I'm starting to agree with, is we actually have choices once we pass. Okay. We actually have choices. We're given that choice to move freely. Either we can go to heaven, we can get judged, we can do all that, or we can just stay. We can just stay put if we're happy being here, which makes a lot of sense with a lot of different things. why would, spirits in Gettysburg, why would they want to stay there?
Yeah.
That was a terrible place. Why would they want to stay? A lot of them wanted to be there. They wanted to, defend their cause. People at home, they're just happier at home. They didn't have religion when they were alive. They pass away. They want to stay in their home. So I think it just varies. It varies on spirit. So, but that's the question, though, isn't it? What happens after death? They know.
No, that's it. And I say this quite often. We won't know for sure until we go through that next adventure, of passing on. But do you think, when we're faced with grief, like us living, we're faced with grief, someone passes. Do you think our grief also could be a contribution to these spirits staying, especially like with home cases and things like that? You lose someone that you're very close to. Do you think the spirit can pick up that, that we're keeping them here as well?
100%. And I found that in a lot of my cases. And I've joked before. I know you've heard me, brother, say about like Aunt Sally sitting over in the corner. A lot of times it is Aunt Sally sitting over in the corner. What I've noticed is a specific pattern. When I go to a client's house, usually they know somebody or have had somebody pass within 6-month time frame. And on average, 6 months.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed, especially in my personal life, like my aunt passed away 2 years ago already. And within 2 weeks, they will come back and they will let you know that they are fine. It might be something very subtle. It might be something really extreme. It usually starts off something very subtle. And it's usually one of those comfort things that's like, okay, mourning process is over. I'm fine. I'll see you later. You don't need to worry about me. The problem is there's a lot of people who don't understand our field, and they hold that. They hold that, grief. They mourn for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and which is okay. But you got to think of the spirits too. If the spirit is still there and they're being held there because this person can't let go. I know if I were to pass and Mackenzie wouldn't let go, I wouldn't want to leave her. I wouldn't want to. I'd be afraid to what she might do. And I'd want to stay and look after her. Or there's a mess, or they get so frustrated that they start acting out. And what I say to people is, some of these spirits are like a 5 or 6 year old. If you ignore a kid, and you're a father, if you ignore a kid, what are they going to do? Throw stuff.
It doesn't end nicely, does it? It doesn't end nicely.
And a lot of the things they do are exactly what we get called out for. Footsteps, banging, stuff going missing, stuff being thrown, scratches, being pulled on. It's all the same. They act just like kids. They want your attention. They want to relay this message. But I think some of the spirits don't understand. They can't. They can't understand. We can't hear them. We can't see them. We don't know what they're doing. And that's where we get called in, where these teams get called in.
And like, looking at the spirits, they've passed on. Do you think, or do you believe the theory where they say you will not, like, say if you go for a reading or something, like to a medium, because you want to connect with a spirit, do you think it takes a certain amount of time for a spirit to be passed over before they can communicate with you? Or do you think they have the ability to communicate straight away?
My boy IG from the Don Vick show. That's my boy. I don't know. I would assume it would be right away. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because, again, at my aunt's funeral, or when my aunt passed, I could tell she was there. My grandmother, the same way. When I was at the funeral, I could tell she was there. And I actually gave a eulogy for my aunt. I had to compose myself. And again, it's where the paranormal kicks in. Death is different for me now. It's not the same. And I mean, I've had a lot of people, including somebody just like yourself, I consider a brother. He was actually my general manager. He passed away due to COVID. And, it hits differently now. It's not one of those, I will never see them. It's, I'll see him soon. I'll see him later. You know, it gives me a little more comfort. But at the funerals, I could just tell, like, all of a sudden, like, I see their body, but I feel them standing right next to me. And again, I'm not a sensitive by any stretch of the imagination. And I could just feel, like, whether it's like my aunt, I could feel her hugging me. I felt my buddy Dave put his hand on my shoulder like he used to. You know, I could feel that. And, you know, so I think they can communicate almost immediately. At least that's what I would assume. But I would hope so. Otherwise, then that's kind of a weird limbo. Like, it's almost like a waiting game. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a spirit, you pass and you're just behind this door. There's like a little countdown. I don't know.
just waiting for your number to be called so you can go.
That would be the only timer I would loathe. You know me, I love my timers, but you just see one of those little flashing timers.
It's your time. No,
shit to do. Come on. No, but no, I mean, I would assume because you can't destroy the energy, which is exactly what it is. I would feel that you could almost immediately. It might take you a little bit to get used to. Because I've even found that with some of our pets that have passed on. You know, we may not feel them around or see them like quickly. Like, we'll see shadows of them. Yeah. The one cat, though, I love him to death. He actually moves my green screen. He's passed on. He's been 2 years since he's passed. And he'll move my green screen. I'll just see just this little bump like he used to do. But I think it might take them time to figure out how to... how to acclimate to their new abilities. Say it that way. I don't know. Superhero. I don't know.
No, I like the way you've answered that. That's cool. You know, now the other thing, the big thing about the paranormal field is equipment. There's so much equipment out there now, and you know, some of it can be quite controversial with the way we use it and things like that. But for you, is there a piece of equipment that you look at that you think doesn't belong in the field? And if there is, why you feel that?
You know how you said no filter? Here we go. So buckle up, buttercups.
Okay, just be warned, everyone. Matt hasn't got any filter. If he's going to say something, that's it.
Sleeves are up.
Just how it is.
Sleeves are up. I'm going to tell everybody right now, anything that you can get on one of these that is not a camera or a digital recorder, anything on these things, bull. And the reason why, you can't validate it. You cannot validate it, and it does not have the technology that these other pieces of equipment have. There is no one set piece of equipment that we need that can validate that is 100% true. Every piece of equipment has its purpose, and they all need to be used to validate each other. And to me, the phone apps, I hate them. I know there's people who like their necrophonics and this and that. Good for you. I don't. I think they're BS. The other one that I just can't stand is an Ovilus. That's just me. I don't like the Ovilus because you can't sit there and tell me that they're going to take an electrical pulse and say a word. The spirit box makes sense. Like an SB7, they go through the white noise to create that voice. I get that. An Ovilus, they could be sitting there asking for help and you're getting dogged through the Ovilus. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, that's just BS. I have a hard time validating that.
Yeah. I like what you're saying with like the spirit box, like the SB7 and things like that. It's like we did another location, was Antwerp Mansions, and me, Nikki, and Dan were down in the basement, right? And a bit like what you were saying, you know, be creative. And you know what? It did actually work. So we thought, okay, let's play a word association game. Like, we say a word, can you repeat this word? And I kid you not, I think it was Dan said, what am I holding in my hand? And he had like a mannequin, but the hand of a mannequin. Yeah. And it said hand. I think it might have been Nikki saying, can you say pineapple? And we got the word pineapple through the spirit. And it was just crazy because the most random words that you can think of, we were saying it, you know. And you're right what you're saying, being creative and choosing the right kind of equipment is an important part in the investigation. So would you say that you're and we asked for the word hocus pocus.
Great movies.
Matt, I cheat you not, Matt. It said hocus and then pocus. It was just like, and Nikki will vouch for me here. It was the most random words that we were thinking. It wasn't anything relating to the paranormal. It was just like, can you just copy what we're doing? And
that's perfectly fine. And you know what's funny? Not to cut you off, brother, but I've even taught. I've ran 3 teams, and I've taught every single one of them. If you're going to ask the basic questions, that's fine. But you will get your best evidence when you're not trying. When you're just standing around BSing, like talking sports or talking food. And that's what kind of molded the questioning for me and how I do it. I don't know what I'm going to ask. I'm just going to go in and just have fun, just like my shows. I'm not going to go in and, question number 1. What is your favorite food?
Yeah.
What is your favorite sport? No.
Well, exactly what you're saying, and Nikki's saying the same thing. It just turned into a case that we didn't think we were going to get anything because it wasn't the most active night, like on a location. But then when we just started, it was more turning into like a bit of just like a piss take, like just say anything and see what happens. Yeah. But then the more we were doing it and the more the responses were coming in, we were like, holy shite, this is not what we were expecting. And, I think me and Nikki slept in that cellar that night in the basement, and it was just like you're saying, we were just being a bit more creative and we just going with the flow.
Well, what is it? Jill Shelley. She is the owner and operator of the Whaley House in Boyd, Minnesota. I know Marcus and his team know it very well. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful location. Jill and them play cards with the spirits. They will literally set out cards for them, and they will go back and forth playing cards with them. And that's got me interested. Like, I want to take a Monopoly board next time I go, or I want to take something easy like Twister. Take the Twister board with the dial on it. See if it moves it.
Can you imagine that? What are you doing? Well, we're doing a paranormal investigation, but we're going to play some Twister and get it all.
Why not? Why not? There you go. Scrabble's a good one. Operation.
That's a good idea. And
why not?
Play Scrabble and have the spirit box going as well to see if it picks up any words.
Well, I mean, think about it. A Ouija board is a game. Why can't we use others? Why can't we use others? And you know what? I'm going to start doing that now. I'm just going to have a whole stack of just board games and be like, oh, do you play? No, I take them to investigations. I want to see what the dead people want to play.
Just set up a load of board games instead of your equipment. And do you think the energy that you bring into a location helps the interaction with spirits? Like, one thing about when we're on location, and we get on really well. We're like, we call ourselves like the PTTP family when we talk, and and one thing that, especially when it comes from me, a lot of them, and Nikki's one of them, likes to make me jump when we're on investigation, and we have a laugh. Do you think?
Be careful telling me this. Be careful telling me this. You said you're coming on a holiday.
Do you think that sort of help heighten the activity, bringing in the right energy?
100%. Absolutely 100%. Like, again, I can relate to it the most because it was the most recent. Thanks, Sarah. And good to know, Nikki. I will remember that. And we will be live. But no, 100%. Like Pennhurst, for example. How many investigators have you heard talk about TikTok?
Yeah.
Or walk through, a haunted location going rawr? That you build up that energy, and it's not just building it up, but it's positive energy, which is what we want. The more energy, the more positive we are, the more relaxed we are. I mean, think about it this way. Do you want to go up to somebody who's robotic, who just, hi, my name is this. What is your name? Or do you want to go, hey, what's up, dude? How you doing? What is more attractive to you? It's the same way with the spirits. To me, at least for me, like, I'm going to go in being exactly who I am, how I am. I'll say the most random crap, as we've seen on the USS North Carolina and at Pennhurst. Mackenzie and I just go off the handle. We'll just talk about anything and everything we want. It doesn't matter to us. And you got to put in, if you expect to get them a reaction from them, you better put in the effort, because you're going into their property, their area. You're a guest. You know, you want to have fun.
No, I agree. And I think that's why we have loads of fun on location. And it does turn into a bit of who can scare me the most. It's like, you know, it's
challenge accepted.
Nikki had a great one. Like, we did an investigation called Manor Farm. And at the end of the evening, someone left some equipment in one of the little cottages.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I don't usually go and do things on my own. I don't trust my team. I love them, but do I trust them? Anyway, so I'm there like cutting the equipment out, and Nikki from behind. Oh my God, I screamed so loud. I think the other streets could hear me screaming. It was.
You would have hated me. You would have hated me in San Diego, and this is probably one of my favorite things I've ever done. I love new people to the field. I love skeptics, but I love the newbies who have just seen the shows and they think they know everything. I used to dress up, and Mackenzie will tell you because I've done it here in PA. I've dressed up in a black morph suit. And for those of you who don't know what a morph suit is, it's basically Under Armour, like that real stretchy material. Yep. Head to toe, completely black.
Oh, wow.
I was wearing one of those. I would hide somewhere because, again, I never investigated with the team. I would go hide somewhere, and when they come by to investigate, reach out and grab them.
Let's say subject. You're going to put bad ideas into people's head that are over my way, and it's not going to do well for me.
We used to play games like Find the Founder, hide and seek. We used to play hide and seek all the time in San Diego. We went to this. Hit me up, Nikki. I'll give you some ideas. But we used to play hide and seek as a team, as a paranormal team. It was funny and stupid to watch, but you know what? That's what really brought us closer together. We'd go to a place called Old Town, and big hearts, love you guys, and we would just run around and we would hide. We would hide in different places, and we'd have one person literally come find us. We would literally play hide and seek, or we would play a game, like I said, called Find the Founder. Mackenzie loved this one. I would again dress all in black or in camouflage, depending if I really wanted to be, a prick. And I would just hide. I would just hide somewhere. And as a team, they would come find me. They'd have to think, okay, well, where would Matt go? We know Matt, and they would use their abilities and their, the knowledge they had of me to come find me. And the team that found me, they got a reward, whether it's a piece of merchandise, something. I'd have some kind of reward for them.
And do you know what? You playing the game like hide and seek, this is a game that goes back decades. Like, this is a game that would have been, imagine that the seeker thinking that they can see someone or they can hear someone in a certain room, and they go there and there's nothing there, and a spirit's actually getting involved in your game.
We've actually had that in San Diego, and if anybody wants to look this up, you'll see what I mean. Absolutely, Sarah, all the time. And we were actually playing hide and seek one night, and I was look it up on Google Maps, and I think Nando, I've shown you. It's just this little area in San Diego. It's like a whole town, little town.
I know what you're on about.
But anyway, we were all hiding, and I was hiding, I think, in a barrel at that point. Was I in the barrel, or was I under one of the buildings? I was under the building, and I'm literally laying under the building. It was like a porch. I was underneath that. And one of the seeker, I heard him talking. And he goes, "Hey, I see you over there. Come out. Come out. Hey, that's not fair. I said I saw you. Come out." I'm sitting there looking. I'm like, I'm the only one that ran over this way. All the other teams on the other side of Old Town. I'm like, who's he talking to? So I was like, crap, maybe he's talking to a transient, a homeless person, or something. So I came running out, and he's over by the schoolhouse, and he goes, Matt, what are you doing? I thought I had to come find you. It's not the other way around. And I was like, who are you talking to? He goes, the guy over there in the bush. So I had a big spotlight and lifted it up. There's nobody there.
Wow.
And I said, talking to the dead person. I was like, he's not playing. You got to find the living.
Wow. So it does work then, playing games.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're saying, being creative does work. So that's great. You know, for you, you've done quite a bit with paranormal. You've got a lot of things under your hat that you've created as well. So you've got the Up program, you've got Para-Vid, you've got Para-Vid Studios. Starting with Para-Vid Studios, you know, from experience, Matt did the intro for us. You know, explain your thought process, how that come up, and why you created Para-Vid Studios and what it's for.
So, Nando, you'll understand this. So I had an idea. So
he had an idea.
So
Matt and his ideas, you know, our time, 2:00 in the morning. Nando, I have an idea. You know, so that's Matt with his idea. But yeah, you had an idea.
So I had an idea, and this is when, I don't know if it was the Para Crew yet, but I had another podcast. I named it something else, the Paracast, and I wanted to do. See, even Suzette knows. But see, but that's why I love the merch. Thank you for that. But I had the idea. I wanted to get a new intro, and I had one that Scott, Mr. Fedora, made me, which I absolutely love. But it was 30 seconds, and while I appreciate it and I love it, it wasn't enough time to bring people in. You know, it was just real quick, and I wanted to update it. I wanted to get better, and I don't know if it was Brian who said about something. It was somebody said something about using Canva to do these videos, and I know Brian was talking about Filmora and Sunny Vegas and a couple others, and I looked at him and I was like, I'm a simple guy, you know. So I found Canva and I started doing it, and I was like, wow, these are shit. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, these are shit. So I tried to reach out to some people to make me a video, and they were charging like $400 for a minute and a half. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to keep screwing around with mine.
Yeah.
So I started doing them, and then a couple people were like, hey, you know, I liked that video. Who did it? I said, well, I did. And they said, oh, well, can you make me one? So I started getting people asking me about it. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to kind of reinvent the wheel here. I'm going to do what I usually do and put my own spin on it. And I'm going to create videos for people that are actually cost effective to at least pay for the subscription, you know, so it's not out of pocket. And so I was talking with a guy named Tanner. He had his own ghost hunting thing. But I was talking with him, and he does marketing, and he kept telling me, you know, yeah, you can do that, but you're not going to make any money. I said, I don't want to make money. I want to make enough to pay for the subscription. So like 3 or 4 videos a month, it's fine by me. At least it's paying for it. And that's where Para-Vid Studios came about. So I started that, and I only made it like $20 per video, intro, outro, and commercial. And that ended up being, if you got all 3, it was like 50. I gave a deal. You know, I just really don't care. It's not about the money. And then it turned into logos, and now merchandise, and a couple of other things. So now it's broadened it, and now that I have Filmora, I can do more with that. Like your video is through Canva. I absolutely love it. You know, it doesn't need to be touched. All my videos that I have on my show, that's all done through Filmora. The GGH stuff, that's through Filmora. It's got more, but again, when you have something that just fits and works, I'm just gonna leave it. And I absolutely love yours. I'm not touching it.
Yeah, don't break something that's not broken.
No.
Yeah, don't try and fix something that's not broken. That's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Para-Vid podcast for you. Now, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but you can, Matt does these, shall we say, sporadic shows.
That's one way of putting it.
And again, this sort of ties up to your personality. No filter, no script. You just go with the flow with whatever you want to talk about. And sometimes it's not even the paranormal.
No.
It's it could be anything that's on your mind. What was your thought process with the Para-Vid podcast for you then?
So Para-Vid was actually a spinoff of the Para-Crew podcast I had with Sarah and Lurker. But that actually was a spinoff of the Paracast, my original show. And that was thanks to, again, Mr. Fedora, Scott Morton, and our campfires. I thought you had to leave. Liar. I love Dan. But I was going to do like how-to videos because I told my wife, Mackenzie, I said, I after I shut down my Pennsylvania team, I said, I still want to do something in the paranormal. I want to help, but I just don't want to do a team thing. I want to do something to where I help everybody. And she said, what, like a consultant? And then the wheels started turning. I was like, a paranormal consultant. I was like, paranormal consultant. I like the sound of that. And she goes, yeah, sounds all right, in her usual style. And so I started doing how-to videos. I was going to just, and I would say go watch them, but don't. They're shit. They
are good. I was waiting for, just to interrupt you, I was waiting for this guy to come in. He's always in the room, but I hope you're doing well, Raymond, mate.
About time. Did you just wake up too? He finally turned the light on. Love you, brother. But had to get a shot in. But no, I started doing these how-to videos, and it was just going to be about investigating, just basic paranormal 101, and that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to help, and I started my YouTube channel and a couple of Facebook pages, and Scott got a hold of me. He said, hey, you really have something here. He said, you have the personality, you have the, you're not shy in front of the camera. You just have that attitude. He goes, I think you can make this something bigger. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? He goes, well, like a podcast. And I didn't have all the equipment or anything like that. I said, I don't know. He said, we'll just do a couple episodes. We'll see what happens. I said, okay. So you guys can all blame Scott for this. But no, it just, one thing led into another. And that turned that's when I started the Paracast. And then the Para-Crew podcast when I brought on Lurker and Sarah. And I met Dan. We had some great times. Dan, he talked about a campfire earlier. We had a really nice 4th of July video where we just sat around drinking, talking ghost stories. Like we were just shooting the shit. What's up, Jenny? And see you soon. But but no, and it was a lot of fun, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And finally, the Para-Crew reached its end because I started this new job, and I just couldn't keep with the schedule. And I just said, listen, I just can't, do Wednesdays and Fridays all the time. I can't do that. My schedule will not allow it. So I just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna do something on my own. I'll let them, do their thing. And Lurker's done a great job with what he's doing with paranormal science. And I just started the Paraverse because, I was doing some gaming. I was just ranting, talking about whatever I wanted to talk about. So it's kind of like into, like with you guys, the portal. It's into the portal. Well, this is into the Paraverse. Yeah. Into the Paraverse of the consultant. So just one of those random, whenever I feel like it, type things. And this one was going to be different because it's not like I'm going to have a guest on every week. I'll let the audience decide who the guest is. Whoever wants to come on, they're open to. They can come on and anybody can talk about anything they want at any given time. So, and
one thing that I like as well that you do, for you, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning once you finish your shift. And for me, it's when I'm getting up with the kids. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30. But you do your mobile consulting as well, where you're driving and you're just having a general chat with everyone. But one thing that you do like to do is you check in with everyone as well. Like you notice people, and I think you bring a lot of positive energy to your show. And like I said, if you guys want to go and watch Paraverse, check Matt's page out. He's also streaming on Parapost Central Network. I nearly forgot that. Brian will kill me. And sometimes it's just Matt just talking about whatever he feels like talking about. There's no actual subject. Sometimes it's just checking in with everyone, which is.
Now I will say, that's how the mobile consultant thing was. That's how that started. That's how the show started. Was me just running around like an idiot talking on my phone, just whatever. The only thing I will say is right now, obviously, as you know, brother, Paraverse is doing a Paranormal 101 series. That's just something, just getting back to basics. Tonight we got the UK people coming. And and it's just kind of one of those learning things. But yeah, for the most part, Paraverse is just any random BS that I feel like doing, whatever the audience wants to hear about. Just talk about new things. And I've always said, and this is what bothers me about a lot of podcasts, is these people get famous because of the audience. So why not give them the shout and the respect that they deserve? I mean, if you've got 1 million subscribers, you better be saying hello to every single one of them. You know what I mean?
I definitely agree with you. Whenever we do our shows, and we talk, as you see, we always acknowledge everyone that's in the room, because if it wasn't for people tuning in, then there'll be it's not the same. And it's great to have them part of it.
I've said it on my show several times that without the audience, I'm just an idiot with a big mouth and a camera. Because let's be honest, that's what it ends up being. Is I have a big mouth and just a camera.
An idiot, but I would say, even with the audience, you're still the guy with the big mouth. So let's be honest. But no, it's absolutely great. I've got 2 more questions for you, right? Firstly, and I ask this a lot to a lot of different investigators and people in the field. If you were to be in front of someone that's new to the field, what advice would you give them to prepare them for the best way to become a good investigator?
Be yourself and expect the unexpected, because you never know. You absolutely never know what you're going to run into. If you go in with an expectation in this field, you're going to be let down very quickly. That's just that's the no dude run, Dan. No dude run.
Run. Brilliant. And this is the one that I just thought, how can we make the paranormal field better? Network.
I'll be honest with you. Like you said, I've been doing this 17 years, and I love my past teams, but I've never had as much fun as I've had in the past 2 years. I mean, I've been doing these shows for about 2.5 years now, and they have been the best in this field. And it's because of everybody I meet, and, like yourself, like you said, if I have an issue, 2 a.m., you're up. If or Raymond's around, there's always somebody to chat with. And it's just really amazing to see what we are all turning this into. And, Brian bringing us all together for the Global Ghost Hunt, bringing us together for Parapost. Steven, I know he's not here right now, but Steven Woodard, Big Papa Pun, him, Howard, Chrissy, and everybody over at Paralinks, what they're doing, all of it is a positive environment, building people up. And Dan's absolutely right. There are channels out there and there are networks out there that turn it into a competition. Who's got the most views? Who's got the most this? Who's got the most that? Who the hell cares? When are we going to have who has the most fun? has the most positive impact on our field? Let's start with that.
No, definitely. It's a hobby that we want to enjoy. And I don't know. I think Brian may have said this. He feels that people make the paranormal feel too complicated, and it doesn't need to be. Is it Brian that said that before?
It sounds like something he would say, but
I think it's him that said it as well. You know, that it's got too complicated, and like you're saying, going back to basics, is the best way forward. But you know, I've loved having you on the show. You've been absolutely great, Matt. I was saying to Matt in the background, I will be honest, some of you will see, me and Matt do a lot of the GGH live shows. And, you know, Matt's never, like, we've never done this before, like me firing questions at Matt. And it's just so weird to see a different side to you, mate, like, to what I'm used to.
Don't worry, we'll make up for it in about an hour and a half.
we'll revert back to the normal, Matt, in a minute. I think, but do you know what? It's been absolutely great to see that different side of you, and you know, listen to more about what you've done and your experience. So thank you for sharing that with us tonight. You know, I've really enjoyed it, and I feel this has been a great show. But just before we do finish off with you, Matt, where can people find all your stuff? Do you want to give your stuff? You know, I would usually say it, but Matt's got quite a bit. So I'm going to let him take over and. You know,
I thought you wanted to end this show, not go for another hour. Holy crap. So obviously on Parapost Network Central, I'm all over Paralinks. I switched over to Paralinks Plus because of how random the Paraverse is. You can find me on Paranormal Consultant on Facebook or YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I think I'm on Instagram. I don't know. The main ones I use are just Facebook and YouTube. I use TikTok just to kind of waste some time at night, but I am on there as well. I'm going to try to get more lives in for TikTok, but believe it or not, it's awkward. Like, I don't know what it is. StreamYard, I'm fine. I go on TikTok.
TikTok's a little bit different to work out than it is.
Can't get into a groove, but it's weird.
But no.
But you just look up Paranormal Consultant, you'll see this guy. Or you can find me at the UP program, the Unified Paranormal Program on Facebook.
And what I have done is, if you look in the description, I have put all of Matt's links. So if you just want to click into it and then go and follow his page and watch a few of his shows, I promise you it will make you laugh. You know,
apologize ahead of time.
Expect the unexpected with this guy. That's all I'm going to say. You know, it is a funny show to watch. And then sometimes you get him and Mackenzie together and you see the dynamic you have. It's just funny. But no, Matt, I just want to thank you again for being part of the show. I've said for a while, you know, I've wanted you on, but we just scheduled. So I appreciate your first day off that I think you've had in 3 weeks, is it?
Been about a month since I've actually had some time just to chill and relax.
You know, so yeah. I appreciate you coming on and taking time out of your day off to have a chat.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
But yeah, I'll just put you into the back, finish off, and then we'll have a quick chat.
Quick chat.
Thank you, Matt, for being on. And, you know, it's been absolutely awesome having you on the show.
Thanks for having me on, brother. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, mate. Great show. Hi, Liz. I told you, Matt is the guy that is no filters and, you know, such a good guy to talk to. So, as I mentioned, all the links are in the description. Go and give Matt a follow, watch some of his shows, and I promise you, you'll have a good time watching him. Just for people in the UK, if you want to come on a paranormal investigation, we have got some events planned now from now until December. You know, so head to our webpage, portaltothe-paranormal.co.uk. We are excited for August. We have our first junior event. This is an introduction to the younger audience. So we've got a workshop planned for, you know, to talk to them about different types of equipment, how the equipment works. We're going to break off where we're going to do snacks and just have a general chat with the audience. And then afterwards, a low-level lighting investigation. So very basic, but this is more of an introduction into the paranormal field if they're interested. So if you want any information, head to our Facebook page and send us a message and we can give you more details on that. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you've had a good time and we'll see you soon. But for now, take care and enjoy your weekend. Bye.